Well, good evening, good morning, whenever you choose to watch this. I know it's rather late. Some of you have been emailing me a lot, and I love that. I am here for it because I am here for you. I know that this is a summer course, and when I told you that we've been moving at a pretty quick pace, I think some of you underestimated what I meant by that. But no fear. That was really just for the 2 weeks. We are going to embark on something different for these next 4 weeks. This week, of course, being the third. Now, because this is a 6 week course, we only have about 4 more weeks left before you have to take that final. So I want you prepared, but most of all, I really just want you to be able to walk away from this class and understand how relevant it truly is to your lives. Those of you who haven't met me, I am Instructor Merrill, Professor Merrill, Profi, as I have been dubbed, and it has stuck. I don't mind it. But those of you who have taken me, welcome back. I want you guys to understand I don't give you all this work and all this reading to punish you. I am just trying to make it through our curriculum. I have boundaries and I have guidelines that I must follow and stay within. That being said, we're going to try something different for this week. A few of you have already made it obvious we didn't make it to the syllabus because I stated in my syllabus in my first announcement that all of your assignments will be posted on Wednesdays. After Wednesday, I did this so that you would at least take Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, if not Saturday, to start reading into this week's chapters or the following week's chapters, right? And this way, by Wednesday, you would have gotten at least a handle on some of the reading. Because if I just gave you the assignment, some of you would never even try and crack a chapter. I know this. No shade. I've been a student and I've been there. I graduated from NOC and probably wasn't that much different when I went there. But I want you guys to open your minds. I want you to think about things in a different way. And in that, many of you emailed me about last week's assignment in relation to Independence Day or the 4th of July. And as we move into week 3, I want to point out something that may not be obvious to any of you, all of you, or some of you. No shade either way. This is why this is called college, because we're learning. But that assignment was really never about the 4th of July itself. It was designed to encourage you to look beneath the surface of an experience that most of us Americans, right, take for granted and recognize that in truth, psychology exists all around us. Every decision we make, every tradition we maintain, every emotion we experience, and every interaction we have with others can be examined through a psychological lens. Now, to become familiar with the psychological lens, we have to be able to take things that we could not possibly imagine being connected to psychology. And we have to look below the surface to see these connections. The purpose of asking you to connect these two concepts of your choosing, right, from our earlier chapters, was to demonstrate this fact, this idea that psychology is not confined to a textbook or a classroom, but it is woven into our everyday lives. Whether you choose motivation, some of you chose perception, there was consciousness, development, personality, a lot of you chose stress, and that's real. That's probably as real as it gets. The goal was not just simply to define that term, though. That goal was to explore how that concept helped explain this real experience. And it is an experience that the entire country shares. Because even if you don't celebrate the 4th of July, you have to live in a country that does, right? You live in the majority where that is a state of things, right? Statistically, more people celebrate the 4th of July than don't. And in that, those are two separate experiences, maybe two separate perceptions, maybe multiple perceptions if we're getting really deep, because many of us could celebrate it for different reasons. I'm the daughter of a first, I'm a first generation American on my dad's side. I'm the daughter of an immigrant, right? But go back about 4 generations on mom's side, we are also, well, 3 generations, sorry. We are also immigrants on that side. My mother's family fled the Holocaust. So for us, there's a layered meaning in Independence Day. And there are two different cultures that have adopted that and made it their own. And so even within my family, we have layered meanings, perceptions, concepts, and even definitions of the 4th of July. And this is what I wanted you to get to the root of. That is a metaphor for this entire class. As you continue through this course, you're going to figure out, if you haven't already, I'm rather unorthodox. I relish in that. But I hope you begin to notice psychology becomes increasingly interconnected, and as you adapt and learn new terms and concepts, you start to see them in your own lives. You start to see the web that psychology weaves outside the textbook. Each new chapter builds on the ones before it, and this allows you to develop a deeper understanding of yourself and of the people around you. And that is something you can take away from this class. That is not for a grade. And that is something much bigger than a grade. That is full transparency. And that is true learning, right? That's adapting and growing, reflecting, and applying different concepts and theories. Recognizing that puts you leaps and bounds ahead of others, especially those who go throughout life without even considering the things they learn and the tangible connections and some intangible connections that exist there. This week's chapters, well, this lecture stems because this week's chapters provide another excellent example of that progression. But we were only scraping the top of the butter bin on the last week's assignment. Here, we're really going to get to the nitty-gritty. And in that, I have decided that for this week, your only assignment is going to be to watch these lectures. Now, I will make a submission box, and I want you to take note of something that interested you, something you never thought of before, a connection that just came to you while you were watching these lectures, or even after you're doing the dishes and listening to this, and all of a sudden something clicks, or excuse me, you're driving to the store and something just crosses your mind. I want you to turn in a list of concepts that you saw this week, because in paying attention to that and taking note in that, you will be exercising each and every single one of these chapters. I have taken the liberty of actually putting together a chart that kind of discusses each of these chapters. And for chapter 6, let's say this one, this is learning, right? And you'll discover that many of the traditions we associate with any holiday are not accidental. In fact, some of them are even conditional, as in we've been conditioned to behave that way, to expect certain behaviors on that day, or even to revere it in a specific way, right? Step outside of holidays. Sometimes you are taught something and there is an expected opinion or perception you are required or at least told to hold. And in that social expectation, either through your family or through your friends or even just your community, there's a psychology behind that. There's a psychology behind the need to belong. There's a psychology between how we learn, right? Psychology is what developed learning modules. Those of you who do not do well in cramming 4 chapters a week um, down your eyelids, and those who do better with auditory type learning mechanisms, those who do better with visual, even tactile, there's a psychology there. That's a tangible link. And that is how I expect you to approach the next few chapters. I really expect you to approach this class holistically. But as I can see, many of you have not been introduced to that notion. We are going to start from the ground up. And so we are just going to move forward. We are not going to look back, right? Because everything is a learning process. And just like the chapters, our learning processes in this class are going to build on each other. And hopefully, when you leave, you will have a more rounded, well, we'll say more well-rounded foundation for psychology and a practiced application of theory, which you can take that skill and you can apply it to all of your classes in some fashion or form, no matter what field you're going into. For instance, chapter 7, memory. And this helps explain, let's say, why certain experiences remain meaningful, significant, emotionally poignant. Okay, the smell of cooking on a grill, let's say 4th of July, right? Mom's home cooked chocolate cake or grandma's homemade biscuits. I mean, there could be anything in the kitchen. You could say, grandma's house used to smell a certain way. Mine, cinnamon and cloves. My grandma liked that smell. Anytime I smell that, it takes me back to when I would walk in the front door into her living room. Because for me, that was something that was special. That is how I identified where I was at that point in time. And that is something that cemented every memory from then, right? That was a sensory, let's say, a sensory staple when I was building that series of memories or memories in that particular location. And these are all things that they're important, especially when we look at the fact that our memories influence not only what we remember, but how we interpret present experiences and emotions that we associate with them beyond that. So again, I challenge you when we're watching the series of lectures, and I will also be posting some podcasts that I make off these chapters. I want you guys to really get invested. And I want you to take note of things that you didn't know, things that you found interesting, things that stuck with you, things that struck you, connections that you made in your own life, because that will really help you remember. And it gives you cannon fodder, as I like to call it, for any down the road written assignments. I may ask for examples in these connections, or I may ask you to write about them, write about one, write about a few, who knows? Because welcome to the wild ride. We are all winging it from here. Okay, I try to make each class fit the students that are in it. right? Making a cookie cutter class, I've never agreed with because not every student is the same. Not every semester is the same. And in that, I always find it pertinent to add, let's say, current events. Current events make for an excellent application of critical thinking in a psychological lens. They give you that opportunity to really connect your here and now, the presence, and the idea that history is being made, all within the frame of a psychological lens. For instance, chapter 8, we're looking at cognition, language, intelligence, basic, the building blocks, basically, the building blocks of communication. And these take us even deeper by examining how we think, reason, meaning how we reason, right? And that's logical reasoning skills, deductive reasoning skills. We look at all of that, right? How we solve problems. Again, we come back to deductive and logical reasoning skills, right? Even how we assign meaning to our experiences, which is interesting because memory does that too. So we are multifaceted in the ways that we attach meaning to the things we experience. And that prioritizes the things that we remember or the things that we choose or wish we could forget. Two people can participate in the exact same event and yet walk away with very different interpretations because each person's thoughts, prior experiences, beliefs, how they were raised, even conditioning, and just all out perspectives because of the aforementioned categories, right, can shape how they understand the world. As a whole, combined, the reason I partition these chapters together is because they reinforce an important idea that extends well beyond this course. Our lives are shaped by far more than isolated events. They are shaped by the ways we learn from experience, the memories we carry with us, and the thought process we interpret in this world around us, right? Or how we interpret the world around us. My hope is that moving forward and with the different, let's say, modalities that I start presenting some of this information, because if you prefer to read, by all means, you can read. But I do expect you to watch the lectures. Anything else I add on, choose that, choose to read, right? Choose a podcast, choose any of the written resources that I give, choose the book, choose it all if you're, an excited overachiever that really wants to dive into psychology. Do it all. This class is one of those that you will get exactly out of it what you put into it. And yet, it is also one of those classes that forces you to come to terms with where your strengths lie and where they don't. So if you adhere and learn and take the time to be honest in your assessment of where they lie, you will be equipped to move forward and do quite well. Anyone who is struggling, that is what I'm here for. You reach out to me and we will figure out the way. Well, my family is very much a Grogu fan, so of course, may the force be with you. And I want you to take into context that everything we do, from the books we read, including textbooks, to the classes we choose to take, to the degrees and the majors that we decide on, this is all at some point linked to one of the processes we will learn about, if not a multitude of processes we will learn about in this particular class. I look forward to chatting more, and I'm thinking about possibly having at least one online meeting where we can meet on Zoom, maybe two, so that those of us that I know work quite a bit, we can have a offshore I call it offshore, right? An offset of the main meeting where we can get together and have our own conversation. We can have a discussion and we can really dig into the material. Anyone who has questions or just things that, you know, they're just questions or curiosities that pop up when you're reading the material. I'm here for that. I will not say that I know every answer, but I will say that I can help you find it if it exists, meaning there are some things we don't quite know the answers to, these mysteries of life, so to speak. I have taken up enough of your time. I know that we are all very busy. And so, to respect that, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. But please look tomorrow for the series of, we'll say, podcasts and lectures. Um, they probably will not appear until later in the afternoon because I have to, and there may only be one. I may just go over all three chapters in one lecture, but I really want to break them up. And I want to do that so that way you can, listen to them on the go or choose which one you want to listen to if you've already started reading the chapters, however you want to do it. So I'm not quite sure because, like I said, I am also moving by the seat of my pants, but I'm taking feedback and I'm listening to your emails. And I want you to see the direct result of speaking up, asking questions, and sharing struggles, right? This is a safe space, but this is also a learning space. And what good do I do anyone if I don't listen and adapt accordingly, right? Anyway, I hope you guys have a great night or day. Again, I will make an announcement on Blackboard to watch this lecture to get an understanding of where you're at and where your assignment is. And sometime in the evening, I will I will start posting these lectures, hopefully some podcasts, just get some stuff going. And actually, you know what? Maybe I'll just do one lecture and I'll do a podcast. And that way that's not too much for y'all to listen to. I might do three podcasts and just one lecture. That's probably what I'll do. And that way, for those of you that prefer to read, you can read and listen to the lecture. And those of you that prefer to listen, you can listen to the lectures and the podcasts. For those of you who are just curious and want to do it all, it'll be there, right? Again, have a great night. And I look forward to moving through the rest of this short time we have together.